All right, hello. It is a lovely day here. Oops, going back. Whoops. Sorry, there we go. Okay, today we're doing part two of how to write a US Common App style essay. Okay, so first of all, if you, yeah, my first thing for you to do is think about the last workshop and what the key points were that you want to remember. And so if you haven't watched part one of this workshop where we go through um, uh, what universities are looking for in a US Common App style essay, because it's different than what other countries are looking for in their essays. And there's feedback about what makes a strong essay versus one that's not as strong. And there's some keys to success. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. And I recommend that you just take a moment and pause, look at your notes, reflect on what you learned from that, because it's going to help you as we go in today, which is brainstorming. Today's going to be brainstorming and all the way from starting with some ideas to turning it into your first draft of an essay. Um, so that is what we're working on today. And I thought it would just be helpful to also show you the Common App. Okay, so this is the Common App. We're talking about the Common App essay, right? This is you can see practice account here. And yeah, students, when you're ready, you can create an account. It's free, it's quick and easy to set up. And this is what it'll look like. You won't have any colleges here in this first part in this dashboard until you add some. You can say I have some here. And I'm just going to click this third tab here, it says Common App. I'm going to have a future workshop where I take you through the Common App and introduce you to it more thoroughly. Just quickly, I just wanted to show you this is the actual application that gets sent to all of the universities that you apply to through here. And so you'll see here there's profile, family, education, testing, activities, and writing. So there's six sections. And then some colleges require this. It's really annoying. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, these six sections, the first one, two, three, four are all just basic info. There's nothing you can do there to stand out or anything else. You might have some questions about how to fill it out, but I think you could probably fill in those four sections in under an hour. Then we come to the activity section, which is essentially the resume. We've already done a workshop on resume, so you can go back and watch that if you're unclear. But this is one of those things where how you describe what you're doing really, really matters. So you can see here, um, my activity is volunteer and Pilar for Operation Smile. This was from a student who I worked with in Bolivia. And what they came up with to demonstrate is here, right? And again, it's how you describe this. Okay, so this is one part that you have a lot of control over, and that takes time and energy. And then you've got the writing section, which is what we're talking about today, and the personal essay here in the Common App. So as this is loading, you'll see the schools that require it that I have on my current list and then don't require it. And then there's the list of questions. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven prompts. Okay, and you can go through and read these if you'd like. You can just Google what are the Common App essay prompts if you don't want to create an account. And the last one says share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own designs. You get to really write anything you want. But remember, up here, it says the essay demonstrates your ability to write clearly and concisely. And what do you want readers to know about you apart from your courses, grades, and test scores? Right? You're trying to help them get to know you as a person, what makes you you and not unique. You don't have to be this magical unique person, but just you. We're all unique, right? So you don't have to be a superhero or yeah, a top athlete or someone who's discovered a new, I don't know, moon orbiting around Venus or whatever. Just you. What makes you you? Because that's what they're looking for in this essay. And so I'm going to come back here to my slides. And so that's what this is all about today, is brainstorming and how to help you come up with ideas that will help you present your best self to colleges and universities. Actually, I'm just going to skip forward one slide before we go into the brainstorming. Some notes. Okay, so ultimately you want to show, don't tell, and that was in the last workshop on US Common App style essays. So you can go back and review that, or you can just Google show, don't tell. You'll find lots of examples. But this, you want to write about yourself from the recent past. Ideally, the past, it says 2 years or so. I'd say the past year or two. They don't really want to know about you as a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. I mean, you can mention it if something important happened in your life then, but really, they want to know about how you have grown to be you and the recent you. Okay, then focus on your positive qualities and think about what you want colleges or universities to learn about you and the positive parts about you. So, this is not like a share all your worst qualities. Think of it like a first date, right? You're not going to go into a first date and yeah, we all have parts that we need to work on and mistakes we've made and things like that, but you want to focus on the positive things. And then the last thing is if you're applying to several or many selective or highly selective colleges, it's probably in your best interest to write two completely different essays because you'll have to write multiple essays. For many schools, you'll write an extra, what we call a supplemental essay, and sometimes two or three or more supplemental essays. And so if you have two very distinct essays, it can really help you later on to adapt one of those essays or both of those essays to help you out. But coming back to the drafting part, here we are. I've got this brainstorming document. So I've got this open here. Oops. Yep, here we are. Okay. So I'm just gonna make this slightly bigger. It's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so I culled this together from some different resources. Yeah. Anyways, I've got two parts here. First one's brainstorming ideas, and the second one is taking your brainstorm and turning it into an essay draft. I encourage you to make a copy of this document, read through it, but I want to just go over some highlighted things that are important. First of all, sometimes people get really stuck when they start thinking about, oh my God, I'm writing my college essay. I'm trying to tell colleges about me. Take a deep breath, right? You're hopefully many weeks and or months away from having to ultimately send this. And so you're just starting with brainstorm, just generating some ideas. So don't get too stuck in really what you're going to say. Just try and get some ideas out, and it means you'll probably be more productive in this process. Just relax and have fun with this. Yeah, try to make it enjoyable for yourself. Partly because, as we talked about in the last video, this is a chance to reflect on yourself and think about who you are and how you've grown and what matters to you. And we don't always take the time to do that. So it's a nice opportunity. Okay, and then in here, I say that there's lots of prompts, and I recommend that you choose between 5 and 12 to answer. And that when you do answer them, you just do kind of a brain dump. You can do bullets if you want, but I think free writing is better. Like write one paragraph per prompt that you choose to answer. Um, yeah, and you can really choose. You can, if it's really flowing, you can write more. If you kind of get stuck and you're having trouble, then maybe skip to another prompt. But I recommend first of all that you read through all of the prompts first, because there's a lot of them. So you'll just see, complete this sentence. If you really knew me, you would know, or this one here, imagine your life behind a heavy theater curtain. If an admissions officer pulls back the curtain just slightly to get a peek, what would they see or learn, and what do you want them to know? What's an extracurricular activity that has shaped your personality and character? How do you want to change the world? What's something you'd like to be or to do in the future? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. What's a book, movie, or song that has a big impact on your life and why? A class you'd love to teach. What's your superpower? Right. So there's a bunch of these prompts that I'm not sure exactly how many, 20-ish, 25 maybe. And yeah, so I'm recommending that you choose 5 to 12 to draft some ideas on. And if you don't like the prompts or you think of other ones that you'd like to answer, then there's a section down here that says add your own. Okay. So you go through and you do this. And yeah, maybe you're the kind of person who wants to sit down and write answers to 5 different prompts at once. Maybe you want to take your time and do one, and then the next day do another. It's obviously up to you. The idea is you're kind of getting some ideas down on the page, and they don't have to be grammatically correct, spelling doesn't matter, punctuation. It's really just a chance to brainstorm, right? And just share some ideas that come to mind. It really doesn't matter. In fact, I say if you're feeling stuck, set a timer and write as much as you can in 5 minutes and then go on to the next one. Just boom, type, 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 or write or dictate, if you're doing voice to text or whatever it is, and then move on. Okay, so now you've done that. You've answered your 5 or 7 or 8 prompts or whatever. Step away, give it a few days, let it be fresh in your mind, and then come down here to section two or section B, excuse me, and what you want universities to learn about you. So take some time to think about this. Which of your positive qualities do you want colleges or universities to learn about you? That you're curious, that you're empathetic, that you're determined, that you're creative, that you're a helpful person, that you're a good friend, whatever it is, right? Um, so just jot down some notes here, and then I have you go through and kind of go back and highlight and see where you see those. This is a good time also to have a chat with someone else. Because a lot of times, we have trouble seeing our own positive qualities and knowing what stories about us are interesting. So if you go back and say to a friend or a teacher or somebody, what I'm hoping to highlight is that I'm creative and innovative. And here's what I kind of jotted down in my brainstorms. Which of these do you think help me highlight that, and which of these do you find interesting? A lot of times, the ones um, that we don't find very interesting, someone else might be like, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear more about that." Right? So this is a good time to get some feedback from somebody else, a friend or a teacher, doesn't really matter who it is. You can do it on your own, but that's helpful. And then you go in and this is the steps to turn it into a draft. And I'm not going to go through all of this. You can read through it yourself. But basically, you're going to select some ideas. You're going to write a bit more about them. And again, so that's section B here. You're going to do a 10 to 15 minute free write for each of 3 ideas, maybe up to 5, but 3 of the ideas you've done so far. And again, this is a chance then to pause and go to somebody else and say, what do you think about these 3 things or 4, whatever that I've written about? Which of these would you like to hear more about? And which of these do you think best represent me? And I really recommend that you take the time to show this to somebody else before you turn it into a full draft. Because what I have found is that sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, students will choose one of their ideas and turn it into a full draft. And then I'll go back and I'll look at all of the ideas they've thought about, and I'll say, yeah, like what you've written could work, but I think there's a lot of power in this one. And and yeah, again, we have trouble seeing our own strengths sometimes and what makes us really interesting and unique because we live it every day, right? And it just becomes routine, and so it's not that interesting to us. Trying to think of a quick example here. Um, yeah, little things like I had a student who had a lot of home responsibilities, and every day they came home and they helped their little brother or sister, I forget, with their homework, and they had to help cook dinner because they lived just with mom, and mom worked late to provide for the family. Mom didn't speak English, and the student lived in the US and went to a English medium school. And so the student had to talk to the school when for parent-teacher conferences for their little sibling, and had to help with paying the bills, like reading through the documents and saying, like, okay, here's what we have to do, and all kinds of things that were very grown-up things, things that usually an adult would do and a parent would do. And because the student had been living this for so long, they didn't think there was anything special about it. And from my perspective, I was like, oh my God, universities would love to hear about this. You are so mature and caring, and the student was so humble too. She didn't think anything was out of the ordinary. She said, oh, anyone would do this. And I said, to myself and to her, I don't think so. Maybe put in the situation, but most of us aren't in the situation, and you really stepped into it. So, anyways, that's an example of how a lot of times when things are routine for us, um, it's hard to see how special they are. So it's good to talk about this with somebody else and have them go through with you and talk through your ideas. Okay, and then you turn it into one essay, and I talk you through how to get a draft of an essay. And to go through and make sure that you're sharing the things that universities are looking for, right? And these are the questions. Why are you telling the reader this? And how did it shape you? And how does it shape how you see the world or yourself or what you want to do in the future? These are the things, the analysis part that really, really matter. Okay, so that's it. You turn it into a draft. You could take 1 day to do this, but probably not. It's probably a multi-day um, activity, and probably over the course of a week or so. I've seen students do it faster, and you can. And if you're like, boom, I know what I want to write about, I'm going with it, by all means, go with it. Maybe then do two drafts. If you have the time to get it done really quickly, go with two completely different ones. But I do recommend that before you dive into the drafting part and you get that essay out, that you just bounce the idea off of a friend or a teacher or a university counselor who can help you to see it from another perspective. Again, don't be worried about this. It's everyone takes time to get to a really good draft. It's a process. So take a deep breath, um, relax, and enjoy this. And remember, this is part of your process of getting the chance to reflect on yourself and who you are currently and who you want to be in the future and what matters to you. And all of that is what I think is most exciting about this journey from high school onto the next step of life. So yeah, maybe sit under a tree, look at some butterflies, and get some ideas out there. All right, hope this helps. Have a great day. Let's see if I can figure out how to stop this video. Always takes me a moment here. All right, I found it. Okay, take care.